What can we learn from fighting?
Vengeance is at hand.
Thank you very much, Dracos. We are back here on the desk.
And in the Rift.
And on the Rift. And I have an interesting little statistic for you guys.
Hitters.
Senkox has played Lulu mid once before this split.
He did.
It was against Fnatic.
It was.
When Misfits won.
And that was against the funnel comp, though.
It was against the funnel comp.
And that was also when Misfits invaded 5 members level 1 onto Fnatic's red buff, and that was one of the craziest level 1 shenanigans we've had in Europe.
It was incredibly fun.
Yes.
Caps has not played Corki this split.
Don't think Misfits is going to get the same kind of early advantage. You can see Corrupting Potion actually starting for Senkox. Something we've been seeing a lot more on mid lane mages. When you kind of take it into the inspiration tree, you have that extra bit of sustain, which is very much just wave clear, farm, stay alive, get those early items. You're expecting an early Ludens. And again, the focus just kind of falls down on towards the bottom lane for Misfits.
And if you're not right now abusing this in solo queue to just have a huge advantage in lane because of sustain with biscuits and Time Warp Tonic plus the Corruption Potion, go do it. It's really hard to lose lane.
It's really hard to lose lane. But, you know, Deficio, you talked a little bit about it. Maxwell will be the main one that we keep our eyes on. In Game 1, he struggled to have much of an impact, and that was kind of surprising considering when we look back at his quarterfinal performance, he was very significant in the wins for the side of Misfits.
Exactly, and especially if you look in the middle, the K+A at 15, like, so many kills happened for Misfits, and he was part of almost every single one of them. Like, it's rare you get these kind of stats. We didn't even die at 15 minutes in 3 games, but he showed up big time. He's on Kindred, he's on a carry. A lot of damage comes from him as well, next to Hansama. So we need a good start from Misfits' side. And once you hit that level 6 in the bottom lane, we know the tower dives with Alistar plus Kalista will be insane.
Because as much as Maxwell did have an incredible impact in quarterfinals, it was on tanky junglers. He played Gragas, Skarner, and Poppy. He didn't play these carry junglers. So we do need to keep our eyes exactly on how he's passing, where he's going. Something you can never forget is the amount of experience that Fnatic just have as a roster. Misfits players, 115 playoff games. Fnatic, that is across their entire 6-man roster, so they do have an extra player in there, but 258, over double the amount of playoff games as the Misfits players.
Well, they do have quite the history, given the number of EU LCS titles that they do have, and perhaps with a win over Misfits, they can make their way to the finals in Madrid up against Schalke, but they have to get through Misfits first. Currently leading the series 1-0, and for Fnatic, again, it's very much about scaling. They don't need to force plays in the early game. Both the Corki and the Tristana are very strong at around 2-3 items. Cap's likely going to be rushing for something like the Training Force into the Stormrazor, and if we see a similar performance from Game 1, Misfits with a bit of extra damage now from the jungle, maybe they can turn these fights around and then snowball. But the emphasis falls on Misfits to create these early game plays.
This actually kind of reminds me of the Summer Split playoffs. It's obviously a slightly different Misfits lineup, but we had a Misfits team that surprised us in the playoffs. You know, they managed to actually beat Fnatic. They shut them down through the mid lane, and they went into a final against G2 Esports. And it was the same story where G2 would draft scaling, like Fnatic has been doing today, and Misfits had to try and find ways to win the early game, but they struggled to do it and they lost 3-0. We have to see if this is a repeat. The only thing that actually is kind of similarity is the fact that Youngbuck is on the side of Fnatic now. He was obviously on the side of G2, and when we look at the Fnatic way of playing the game with Reckless, it is a lot about late game team fighting. It's how they will win against every single team in Europe if we just base it on the players and the carries they have. So can Misfits actually snowball early game properly against a scaling comp?
And against the caliber of players that Fnatic have, one of the things that we've said consistently throughout the regular season is just every member on this team is performing at an extremely high level. 3 members of the All-Pro team were from Fnatic. Now, Reckless jumps in.
Hylissang uses him as a conduit. Mickey looking for knockback here. Concussive blows is going to land. There's the stun. Teleport coming in behind him, but Fnatic are going to answer with one of their own. This is done! And Summer gets first blood, and here comes Akbari. Teleport cancelled by Whippo. Incredible stuff for Misfits. They get their bot lane ahead.
It's so important. They didn't even need to gank the lane. It was Broxah walking into the lane from Fnatic. He thought to himself, oh, Kindred's just going to farm right now. I can try and get my Tristana lane ahead and stop this Misfits early game from actually getting any sort of snowball in their favor. But by him walking mid, we saw Reckless jumping in. Braum then wants to jump to Reckless, but the whole thing ended up being slightly delayed, and then Mickey actually stays alive.
Hylissang trying to keep the minions around here. Doesn't he stand down? He's gonna die.
He tries to freeze the minion wave and gives away another kill. That's a 3-0-0 Hansama 5 minutes into the game.
Who needs your jungler?
He's going up top lane now.
Don't need your jungler at all to gank the bottom lane. He can go up towards top instead. Now, last time we saw Maxwell gank this lane, it did not work out well for them. Whipper got the 2v1. Can't connect with the decimating smash. Teleport coming in from Caps, trying to turn this one around if they can. But Whipper is so low, he's done. Here comes Caps. Maxwell trying to dodge around. Dodges the Phosphorus Bomb, the knockback from Alfari as well. Caps is low. Broxer flashes in, gets one. Now Alfari's trying to keep Broxer underneath the tower. He'll get one in return. Caps isn't going to go for the full dive, and Alfari still pretty healthy underneath this tower.
Oh, Caps is still staying around, trying to hit him. Mickey around the mid lane with Senko's.
Senko's very low on mana here. Mickey just needs to be the bouncer for his mid laner because Hylissang is coming in. The knock up onto Mickey. Senko's has the wild growth flashed in the wrong direction, and now Reckless has been turned around on Ian. The shield is not enough. Fnatic are falling apart, and Misfits are picking up the pieces.
This is the kind of early game lead that Misfits wanted in game 1. 6-1 is the kill score right now for Misfits. That's a 2,500 gold lead 6 minutes into the game, and the action's not over yet.
Knock up onto Whippo. Here comes Max. Whippo has to flash away. Hylissang puts something unbreakable. They're going to try and turn it back around. Decimating smash. Use Mickey. Will be stunned up, but you just don't have the damage to get through. And Alistair at this point, Alfari trying to do what he can in the 2v1. Eventually, he will fall here. Caps just needs one last auto. Broxer will take it instead.
We're 6 minutes into the game. We have 8 kills already and a massive goal lead for Misfits. Hylissang will find Max Lore.
Hylissang, don't do it, Hylissang.
Oh! Fnatic win the game, it's done.
That's how you carry a support.
That's the style points right there for Fnatic. A bit of redemption as they are still at a 2,000 gold deficit.
Yeah, bot lane turret also took a ton of damage while we had all the fights mid and top lane because Hansama stayed while Reckless went on that little weird adventure to mid.
Also, remember, we haven't had a replay yet. Good luck, observers, figuring out where to start in all that action, because it all kind of happened at once. And I feel like we have to go back to that bot lane play, where Reckless jumped in. He felt that with Broxer, they could get a pretty easy kill, but really fast teleport from Alfari quickly turns it into a 3 versus 3, and all the attention went on to killing Mickey, but they could not kill him fast enough. And while Hansama was freely dishing out the damage, that enabled him to get that kill onto Reckless, which kind of started the snowball.
And we were kind of talking about, okay, maybe you wait for level 6 on your Alistar and your Kalista before you start going for the big plays near the bottom lane, but they didn't have to because they got that huge advantage. Now Hansama is there with 6. It feels like any sort of setup they want to make around this lane should go heavily in their favor. We're just waiting for them to actually pull the trigger. There's TP on Whippo very soon, however, to try and answer if Misfits are going hard in the bottom lane. Otherwise, Misfits can just grab this turret and do what they did last game, where they start pushing this bottom lane really far towards Fnatic's base.
So now we see Misfits with that bot lane lead. Bilgewater Cutlass already finished on Hansama. Whippo is down here. He knows that the triple dagger on Reckless is not enough to face against Hansama and Mickey.
And no TP from Alfari. So it's 4 members of Fnatic. We have Caps on his way with the package as well. It's a 5-man play.
Kindred's on his way as well, though. Has that
No package, but he's here.
No package.
They're going.
It's here! You know how you kill a team. You go when they can't engage together. 2v3. Misfits come out on top. Hylissang and Whippo tried to come in, but they weren't able to make it. Here's the jump across the wall. The chase from Mickey. Caps. Valkyrie's away. Now Whippo and Hylissang and Reckless are coming up. Mickey not in the best of places. Can use the blast code to try and get himself away towards that mid lane. Caps can still chase. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Alfari is still pushing in. No teleport on him. Fnatic, they want to find something, but Mickey's the one to go in. Caps locked up, gets away. Here's Reckless, jumps across the wall. Labs effort, keeps them all alive. And now here's the team fight in the river. Whippo's going to step forward, trying to be the man for the moment for Fnatic, but he cannot quite connect. He's done. And once again, Misfits turn Fnatic's aggression against them.
Fnatic keep trying to force these fights. It's exactly like game 1, but this time, Misfits are snowballing things out of control. 3,000 gold lead in their favor. Hansama has 5 kills.
With 9 minutes in the game, that's a kill, more than a kill every 2 minutes at the moment for Hansama. Broxer, no flash. Senkuk's there, Maxwell on the chase. Broxer's going to try and get away the ignite. Final shot! Goodbye, Gragas. 9-2 in favor of Misfits.
And listen, so much credit to Misfits for taking these fights and winning them this time around. But man, Fnatic, you have scaling.
Now,
you don't need to do this.
This ward in the river was clutch because Fnatic were coming for a 5-man dive, but Misfits responded perfectly. They immediately go towards the 2-man flank. They get themselves some quick kills, and then they go for the chase. But the fight's not even over yet, Deficio.
No, we're now gonna get Mickey, who looks like he's caught out, but he actually gets back to his team. And now Fnatic are saying, okay, this Hylissang's low, we can take him down, but there is a Kindred ulti.
There's the wild growth as well to buy more time. Mickey's still not even level 6 and he just soaks up so much damage. Then Bwipo, rather than trying to run away, he actually walks back towards the team. He ends up splitting himself apart from Fnatic, and then they end up giving away another kill.
And sometimes we've talked about Fnatic being a team that is always on the aggressive, always hitting that go button, and they need a voice just to bring them back a step. They need someone like Soaz just to say, okay guys, take a step back. Bwipo and Caps have been very aggressive in this game. It has not paid off for them yet. Fnatic are going to be able to get the top tower. They're going for Rift Herald as well. Misfits down towards the bottom side looking for a tier 2.
And again, it's not just one game they're doing this. We saw it last game, we saw it during the regular season. They keep forcing. But once you draft so much scaling on your side and the enemy team seems to have a very simple win condition, which is get that 80 carry ahead, you really don't have to do too many things on side of Fnatic, but they are looking for the plays. It has completely backfired. It's all on Misfits now to snowball this game.
Look at the mid lane. Look at all the people that are gathering around Caps and Senkux. Reckless coming in from the top side of the river. Mickey was coming in through the bot as Maxwell steals away some of the camps. They don't want to force anything, though.
No vision here. Hylissang steps forward, spotted by the Sentinel. Hansama flash away from Hylissang. A great explosive cast. They're going to try and turn this one around with the Glacial Fissure. Senkux coming in from the side as well.
Ouch. That hurt.
Yeah, that tasted pretty purple.
Hey, we got Reckless Split pushing top lane right now. Bot lane, he's out, but this turret, it's probably gonna drop if Misfits stay.
Alfari, he's going for the 1v1.
Yeah, Reckless has jumped already with that explosive jump. Alfari, 1v1ing those minions.
Clutch.
Mid lane instead.
Yep.
This game is so much action. We have to roam from Misfits on the bottom side. It's Alistar plus Kindred coming. They will force Fnatic back, but there's a lot of damage on the turret, and Misfits did not stay bot to take the tier 2 yet, but Hansama is there. He should be able to get it.
Okay, we also see Hansama alone in the 1v1. We've got 80 carries versus top laners on both sides of the map, but people from Misfits are roaming down towards the bottom lane. Now, will they look for a kill onto Bwipo? He does have the flash. I think they're just focused on the tower.
It's a tier 2 they are taking.
Mid lane.
12 minutes into the game. Mid lane, Fnatic are going to push up. They've got Reckless and Broxer coming across from the side as well.
Yeah, right now Fnatic actually getting quite a lot out of this trade here because they were never going to win on the bottom side to stop Hansama. So the fact they can get a mid lane turn with the Rift Herald and then a second push is very nice for them to at least try to stay somewhat in this early game. But they're so far down, and Hansama should be able to walk into that next fight and just hard carry for his team.
Pace of the game has slowed down ever so slightly. It's been a whole 3 minutes since we last got a kill. It's just a monumental amount of time, but it gives us a moment to check on these AD carries. Hansama has the Blade of the Ruined King, the Recurve Bow, and the Berserker's Greaves completed. Reckless only has the Greaves, Double Dagger, and a Longsword.
You can see that the Training Force has been completed, though, for Caps. The kind of shining light of the team who hasn't died yet and has hit a pretty solid spike. So if Fnatic want to go for skirmishes now, then maybe they'd be in a slightly better position. But it might be too little too late as Maxwell's completed his jungle item. Senkux is very close to reaching that level 11 point where that wild growth will be that much more impactful.
Exactly, and no one on Misfits needs to build a QSS this time around because they banned away that Skarner that was so annoying for them in the last game. The Gragas from Brox's side here wasn't so much the champion, just more the plays from Fnatic that ended up completely backfiring. They will, once again, though, be able to trade, get a turret on the bottom side, but they're a bit behind in the play. You see Hansama's already at the tier 2.
Yeah, Hansama just solo pushing towards that tier 2. We'll get a chunk of damage on that. Shouldn't be able to take it all the way down. Bwipo is going to have the unstoppable onslaught available for him, so we'll probably just run up towards this lane to stop the Kalista if needed.
Oh, he's just going to give it up,
Decides against it. Tower's going to go in the bottom lane. Caps has been engaged on, trying to Valkyrie away. Doesn't have the package. Roxer on his way as well. Flash, Nature's Grass. Maxwell flashes in as well, but Caps doesn't really have anywhere to go right now. Twisted Advance will be enough. How far he gets the kill?
I think Fnatic actually thought more players were sitting, hiding in a brush near Hansama, seeing as they didn't want to rush in and try and stop him from taking the turret, and Caps stayed so far up in the bottom lane. But then you have multiple players actually walking out to just kill caps, and he ends up looking a little bit like a fool.
15 minutes in, Fnatic are facing a 5,000 gold deficit. They're going to lose this mid tower pretty soon as well, unless they find some semblance of hope to defend it. And Misfits in such a strong spot.
Here comes Mickey.
3,000 more gold on Hansama than on Reckless, but Reckless can still get a lot of damage down. Base Core use teleport coming in behind them as well. Here's Whippo, has that unstoppable onslaught if he needs to join the fight. Teleport comes in, Caps joins it. Mickey in that front line knocks up the Scion. You can see there's a lot of damage coming down here. Mickey just gets into the back of the Amstress, but how far he's going to fall? He was just tanking up Reckless for as long as possible. He will go down. Misfits still running away to the top side of this fight. Flash from Whippo is available. There's the packaging from Caps. Gets onto Maxwell, but Caps just about surviving up towards the side. Mickey down. Fnatic find a good fight in the mid lane.
And Fnatic, they don't slow down. Even though they are at a 5,000 gold deficit, they continue to look for fights. Maxwell now being forced back as Fnatic continue the chase.
Great push here from Fnatic as well. They're using Reckless in the mid lane to try and get the tower.
It's actually insane this is happening. I can't believe they just won a fight against Misfits. 5k gold down. Your AD carry has nothing. Their AD carry is really strong with 5 kills.
And I feel like it came off the back of poor decision-making from Misfits, because they tried to dive this tower as Broxah had the stopwatch. This buys enough time for the TP to come in from Caps, so this ends up being a 5v4. And where can Alfari TP in? Away from the rest of the Misfits team. He gets isolated underneath the tower against 3 members, and it ends up just being like a 2v2 on the top side. The Caps is just winning for Fnatic.
Yeah, Misfits had so much time to actually just walk back through the mid lane after that initial play failed under the turret. But of course with Alfari ending up under the turret and then walking then into the Scion plus Caps, who's actually strong on this Corki, Fnatic win the fight. It's still a 3k gold lead for Misfits, almost 4k at this point. Now Rageblade is here. It was 5, now it's 4. It's still enough, Vidius.
But I'm just
they
saying,
have Rageblade.
Is it enough though?
Yes, it has to be. Otherwise it's a 3-0.
I agree with you. If Misfits do not win from this position, I totally think that Fnatic will just 3-0 it. And Misfits have to show us they can translate an early game lead into a win, because against G2 last week, their mid game wasn't as strong as it could have been.
They definitely slowed down a lot, and it feels like Misfits not focused around the last fight, but just when we get further into the game and they have to play in all 3 lanes, they kind of don't coordinate between all 3 of them. It's all individual plays happening left and right. Now they're trying on the bottom side.
Whippo, seeing if he can escape from this one. Hansama just putting a lot of spears into the back of that Scion. And he is going to get taken out. Mid lane, the fight goes on. Hylissang dead. Whippo not able to do anything in the bot lane with his passive. Alfari goes down in the mid lane as well.
3 people just died.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the mid lane.
Come on, play by play, get to it.
Like the kill bot lane was easy. And then something happened in the mid lane.
Yeah, so Fnatic found themselves 1 kill, whereas Misfits found themselves 2. It was Alfari that ended up dropping 2 Caps, who finds his actually first kill of the game. But they ended up shutting down Hylissang as Misfits now set up for this mid-tier 1.
Obviously another fight there, yes. 1-for-1 in the mid lane, but doesn't matter.
Flash into a wall.
Hex flash.
Bottom side.
Hex flashed it.
Yeah.
One thing we have to highlight, guys, about the last fight that happened that Misfits actually lost, while they had the big goal lead, they were only sitting on a bow from Hansama, and when he actually went back, he got a Rageblade. Yeah. So a lot of that gold was not spent in the last fight, and now they have that huge spike on the Kalista, and we get the big difference between the AD carries. They're running out of turrets to kill, however, so it's gonna soon be Infernal Drake into Baron focus, but you have Kalista, so that's not a problem for you.
And this was the period in time that you were talking about just a second ago, Deficio, where we often see Misfits slow down, because the map is so open right now for both sides. And while Misfits do have the tower lead, sometimes when they're trying to play around the Baron or play around these neutral objectives or set up the side lanes, they don't seem as coordinated. And right now, they have their Kalista pushing out bot. They're likely setting up for the Infernal Drake that's about to spawn, but because they don't have pressure up top, they're now being split up again, and they might lose that control.
Yeah, this feels like the kind of game where it's almost impossible to fully slow it down, just because Fnatic will then force a fight on you. They're not waiting, they're not sitting back doing nothing. It's less focused then on, oh, what is the perfect setup with, you know, the beautiful vision into fancy minion waves being stacked. It's more like, are we ready to fight? Can we win the fights? Do we have the mechanics? Do we have the synergy to 5-on-5 Fnatic at all times? It's how the games have been played out so far. This one has gone in favor of Misfits, but last one was in favor of Fnatic.
Now, Misfits had to group up as 5 there. Whippo had teleport, whereas Alfari didn't, so Whippo got a little bit of time to chip away at that top lane tower, while Misfits did get the Infernal Drake for themselves. 45 seconds before Baron spawns, Misfits will want to get vision control around there. You can see they've got 6 control wards in their inventories.
So I do worry, Deficio, how early Misfits can actually force Baron, because you'd think that with a 3-1-3 Kindred and 6-0-0 Kalista, you would take that Baron relatively quickly, but that's still a Trinity force with a BF sword onto Caps. He will likely have the package relatively soon. With Broxer on the Gragas and Whippo on the Scion 2, in that enclosed space, that could be a big avenue for Fnatic to actually win a fight.
Yeah, I think the problem for me is lack of armor on Misfits' side. Especially because the tank is the guy who's sitting in a side lane, bot lane, with teleport. So no one can actually stop the Baron and sit in front of the Baron for long enough to then be healthy for a fight. And that is something Fnatic knows, and they can use this to kind of force Misfits into choose between starting Baron or simply not doing anything other than looking for a pick. Luckily for Misfits, I think they have enough tools to just force the fight there. You don't actually have to start Baron, you get the vision in Baron area, and when Fnatic tries to check, you throw an Alistar in there, or you flash engage as Mickey, and you just take the fight. And it's less about starting Baron then and forcing around, you know, can we kill it? More about saying, hey, they have to check at something, because they don't have vision.
Yeah.
And when they do, we fight.
Yep. Get the mid lane priority by pushing up this wave. Broxer and Caps trying to step forward if they can, but they can't get too far forward.
Yeah, because if we turn on the Fnatic vision, you will notice that they don't actually see anything in the river. And someone needs to check. So that's now your blue trinket gone. It's on cooldown. Once it gets killed, no one knows. And someone is gonna poke the head, and typically it's the support. He's the one you sacrifice. Like you go in there, and then you flame him when he face checks.
And Fnatic are gonna do what they can.
And actually going as a team, Lee, this is risky.
Isn't solo queue Deficio.
They're hiding in here.
Hylissang.
We've seen this before though, Deficio, and the last time Hylissang and Mickey did this.
Use the package, here's the Fate's call. Maxwell coming in from the top side as well. Teleport used by Misfits. A superb collapse onto Caps on Summer. Just about survives.
And that's exactly what we just said. Don't start the Baron. No need to take the damage. Just wait until they have to walk into that river to figure out what's going on. And then you find the engage. Mid lane is now gone. Alfari is here. He can actually stand in front of the Baron. And now you can set up a nice play.
Fast.
You got the spears. There's no way Broxer can steal this.
He's not even going to look for it. Fnatic are backed up. Misfits will secure the Baron. 22 minutes in. They lead by 6,000, almost 7,000 gold. Such a strong position for Misfits to be in.
And that was just a perfect play around the Baron. Exactly what we want to see from Misfits to make sure this series will go a lot further than just a 3-0.
And it's a big difference from the Hans Summer of last week as well, because we think back to him diving underneath the tier 2 tower against G2, trying to go for the hero play, ends up giving away his life. He tried multiple times with a big lead to create opportunities that ended up backfiring, but this time round, it worked out because he coordinated well with his team. Maxwell was moving up through the river, Alfari instantly teleports in, and while Caps almost gets the kill onto Hans Summer, overall it ends up being a Baron in favor of Misfits.
I really like the positioning in that bush from Hans Summer and Mickey as well. You can see Caps just didn't expect him to be there. Now, 23 minutes in, Reckless has finally got that second completed item. Hans Summer building up towards his third. Ardent sensor complete on Senkux as well, just to continue to buff up Hans Summer on that AD carry. And you can never forget Maxwell. He has the Blade of the Ruined King alongside the upgraded Skirmisher Saber.
Yeah, and I was asking for like a roaming pick from Senkux. I didn't get it, but instead I got 4 or 5 kills for Ansama in the first 10 minutes. And it wasn't even about roaming or jungle ganks. It was just playing that 2v2 in the bottom lane. And then suddenly a jungler shows up and it all backfires for Fnatic. So in this game here now, this Lulu is going to be super, super good because the correct member is fed. And you now have everything you need to protect Hansama. If he dies in a fight, however, your damage is more or less gone.
Yes, and it's also really important to remember that things aren't completely over yet for Fnatic because the scaling option is still on their side. And the one thing that we did see Misfits sometimes struggle against versus G2 last week was trying to go for these final game sieges. Often Hansan would take just one too much poke, and then he ends up, it gives the opportunity for the enemy team to force an engage. And if Fnatic see that opportunity, they will not be afraid to force it. And now we see Mickey. A bit too much damage.
It's okay for the moment. It wasn't in the best of situations, but Misfits instead just want to go for this mid lane tower. Nature's Grass used as well from Alfari, trying to get onto the back line if he can. Misfits will get the tower. The root on Whippo, he's not in a good spot. Hylissang just about survives as well, but Hans Summer is incredibly low. Lamb's Respite used. Just the healing here for Misfits. have to look at those bombs coming out from Caps as well, because one big one hitting onto someone can just chop. Just turns it back onto Caps, he's done! And now Misfits can push forward. They know that Caps is dead. They can look for this inhibitor.
Fnatic, they wanted to go for the re-engage. Look at that control ward near the mid lane. Bwipo had TP and they wanted to create that flank, but he couldn't get back to base in time, and Misfits sprung way too early. Caps gets caught out of position, and now they're looking for their second inhibitor.
Yeah, Caps wanted to be the hero right there. If he could flash in, get a kill for his team, and then still get out, Fnatic could defend and actually make sure the Baron buff didn't do anything. But now they're losing this bot lane tier 1 as well.
Engage on towards Whipper with the twisted advance. There's the inhibitor tower going down. Misfits will get the inhib as well. Reckless sitting in good position to do a lot of damage on the back of this fight. A level 13 Tristan is not something to be sniffed at, but Whipper sniffed the wrong way. He's snuffed out by Misfits. Caps back alive. Misfits will just back away.
They don't want to overcommit to this. Do they have any ultimates left available? Maxwell's is on cooldown, Alphari's is up soon.
Face call is there, face call is there.
But I think they just need to disengage. Spend the gold that they've just picked up. No need to overcommit. Your Baron buff is about to run out. But Misfits secure themselves 2 inhibitors. Now they're very close to a 10,000 gold lead.
Very successful first Baron for the team. Not only how they set it up, but also how they use it. This is their first play with Alphari. He wants to zone them off the turret, they want to kill the turret, and then they can take the fight after. They almost kill Hylissang, but actually makes a nice little play where he steps to the side, dodges the damage from Alphari. And Caps, man, he's just like, I want to get in there, I want to carry this.
But you can see that Bwipo, he's going back to base, he's setting up for the teleport play, and they just want to keep the poke down, but then he flashes in, tries to go for that kill onto Mickey, instantly punished. Really good reactions there coming out from Misfits and Mickey. That enables them a kill and 2 inhibitors.
4,000 gold Baron power play. Only 25 minutes into this game, we have had 20 kills. Misfits, when they get first Baron, are always the winning team, apart from that one time.
And it always feels bad when you're a Gragas at 26 minutes into the game and your only other item is a Zhonya's Hourglass. One of the frontliners that you're relying on right now has definitely struggled so far in this game, and a lot of that comes off of the early playmaking that Maxwell has set up for his team.
This entire game all comes down to the first 10 minutes going so heavily in Misfits' favor. Just like it did for Fnatic with the first few ganks in the last one, so both teams are kind of trading. You know, wherever the jungler goes for the first gank, it just backfires. Don't do it. Don't be the first jungler to gank in this series.
Next game, we're just going to have a 40-minute nil.
No one will do anything.
Never go for a gank, but Misfits have that Baron up in just a couple of minutes' time as well, with double inhibitors down there, pushing in this top lane, looking to equalize this series against the reigning champions Fnatic.
And just by getting the double inhib on the first Baron, once again, just makes it impossible for you to not continue to pressure and actually close out the game, because you have all the tools you need. Typically, if teams can defend inhib turrets for a long time, they can keep scaling onto 3-4 items, but not in this game here. Misfits actually now taking a lot of damage.
I was going to get stunned up here as well. Misfits have to do something about this, because the Glacial Shroud, the Lamb's Respite, sorry, will keep him alive for the moment. Glacial Fissure was used by Hylissang as well. And Alphari has to back away, does have to teleport if he wants to rejoin his team.
Very surprised this happened. Caps was just bot lane, killing the wave, and Misfits didn't really manage to step forward. The problem with it right now, if you look at the minimap, when this wave is crashing at the turret, the other two in mid and bot are not threatening the in-Nexus turrets. So they don't actually force Fnatic away. They can still sit here and defend.
But I don't think they care too much about being able to hit that inhibitor tower right now, largely because their whole goal is to maintain vision control around the top side of Fnatic's jungle, because with the Baron spawning in about a minute, they still have the inhibitors broken, but okay, they're just gonna hard commit.
Use the TP to try and hard commit to this, but the wave play from Fnatic is very strong.
I don't think they can. There is too much wave flow on the side of Fnatic. I think you just have to play towards the Baron.
Well, they did get a bit of damage on the Nexus turret this time around.
Not for that long though. Alphari still with that frontline tank for Misfits. Against a Corki, against a Tristana, against an AP Gragas as well. Those waves are melting. Baron up in 20 seconds though, so as you say, Misfits have the vision control around it now.
Exactly, they know there can be no wards for Fnatic, all those blue trinkets behind them now. They're forcing it though.
Going for it. Nature's Grass use. Mickey uses the Hex Flash across the tower as well. Whippo's the first target. Robson knocks into Hans Summer, but Hans Summer just going to put the spears in the back of the Gragas. Good knock up onto Hans. Whippo there, Mickey in the midst of it all. Reckless, still full HP. The base core used. Hans Summer able to survive it against the zombie Whippo. Reckless decides they're going to give up the third inhibitor. He's clearing out the waves. They push towards those Nexus towers.
Will they have to get Hylissang?
Abari jumps in, Hylissang down now. Abari turns it back around. Mickey is still alive in the midst of it all. Hansama goes legendary. The first Nexus Tower goes down, and Misfits have put all of their eggs in the Hansama basket. They put their faith in Callisto, and that faith paid off. It's 1-1.
Misfits come back with an answer in game 2, and that answer